Bachelor heads and Housewives heads, we need to tap in because I cannot believe we are living in a world where Ashley I is a housewife. Warning, I am not going to be nice in this post. I unfortunately am not a huge Ashley I fan, so if that's going to piss you off, you can go. But if you want to talk about Rory, stay. So yesterday at BravoCon, the cast of Rory was officially announced. We knew from Reddit that Ashley I was filming, but allegedly she was going to be a friend of. Unfortunately, we are now living in a world. I posted on my Instagram story because I was like, my brain is breaking. The fact that Ashley I is an official housewife is so fucking crazy. For the uninitiated, a quick rundown on their lore. Jared was on Caitlyn Bristow's season of The Bachelorette. Ashley I was on Chris Soules' season of The Bachelor, which was not good. He's sort of unremarkable and not really remembered. They met on the second season of Bachelor in Paradise. Ashley I was very into Jared. Jared was not into her. They both left. They both came back for the third season of Bachelor in Paradise, where they both dated other people, and they did not leave together. One of the key things about both seasons of Bachelor in Paradise is that Ashley I spent a lot of time crying. She was desperately pining for Jared, and she was just like crying a lot. One of the main things that people remember about her is that she cried for 90% of the time she was on screen. When I make dating TikToks on here, I always say, if somebody doesn't like you, you will know. And unfortunately, Ashley I just like warps the perception of so many people because so many people in the fandom are obsessed with her, right? She got her happy ending where after being on Bachelor in Paradise, they were like friends, and then they were together, and then they weren't together, and then they were together, and then finally something dramatic happened, and he like realized he was in love with her and proposed to her, and it was like a whole thing. This goes against the ethos of my Bible, he's just not that into you, and everything that I spend all my time preaching and praying and saying, where it's like, if somebody doesn't like you, you cannot spend all your time crying and throwing yourself at them, right? On the Bachelor subreddit, which I'm banned from famously, they are like, no, this is a love story. This is how all love stories should go, because I always say straight people are obsessed with the will they or won't they. I've made so many videos about how this is just like a common trope in popular culture, this idea that like he has to realize that he loves you, and it's like this whole When Harry Met Sally thing. And so I think to me, they trigger me because I'm like, this doesn't happen in real life. You cannot throw yourself at someone over and over again for like 4 years until they realize that they secretly loved you all along, because that will not happen to you. If you are taking any lessons from this video, take the opposite lesson, because this doesn't happen to 99% of people. They did, of course, get engaged, they got married, they have 2 kids, and now I'm going to be terrorized by her on a separate Housewives show. This is just very, very upsetting. This is so upsetting. I'm sure that she's a nice person, but she was crying a lot in the trailer, and people were already calling her out. Some of these other women were saying, like, oh, she's crying again. But, like, I don't think that I did a good job of explaining why she just is so deeply triggering to me. Her Instagram bio is, like, optimistic or delusional, depending on who you ask. And I think because I'm someone who, my chart is all earth, right? Capricorn, stellium, like every single thing's in Capricorn. So I'm like, if somebody tells me that they don't like me, I'm not going to throw myself at them. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to beg them and beg them and beg them to want me, right? And even though they did get their happy ending, but everything before that is so humiliating. Like, I'm really curious to see how she's going to parlay this and like tell this story, because famously, I always say, there's nothing that married people love more than telling you their love story. People are in love with their own mythology, and no one is in love with their own mythology more than Ashley I. When I say in love with their own mythology, there's a podcast that calls it the Our Story page. And if you talk to any married couple, you will realize that people love doing this. They love telling you this long, convoluted story about how they hated each other, and then they got together, and then they secretly loved each other. And it's always paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of intensity and drama and like psychosis, and it's just not the vibe. Maybe Ashley I triggers me because I'm deeply emotionally closed off, and she is the opposite of that, and she just went after something that she wanted very, very desperately. But for me, all I can think about is all the humiliating things that she did to get there. Yes, she is now married. Yes, she's now a housewife. Yes, she now has 2 kids. But I'm never, ever going to forget that girl screaming, crying, throwing up, sobbing on the beach, begging a man to want her.